Imagine a world where a story's first sentence secretly told you its ending. Welcome to our deep dive, where today we're going to see how that's not just some cool idea, but something that actually happens. We're about to go on a journey together to solve a puzzle that's almost 3,000 years old. It's hidden in the very first line of one of the world's most famous spiritual texts, the Bhagavad Gita. And get this, the entire outcome of a legendary war is given away before a single arrow is even fired. How cool is that? So our journey starts with what seems like a totally simple question. It's asked by a blind king right on the edge of this huge, catastrophic civil war between his own sons and his nephews. Now, at first glance, this sounds pretty normal, right? King Dhritarashtra is just asking his secretary Sanjaya, hey, give me the latest update from the battlefield. What's happening? But buried inside this very simple question are all the clues we need to see a much, much deeper story. Okay, so let's really dig into this, because the secret isn't in what the king asked, but in the very specific, very deliberate words he chose. We're about to uncover some clues hidden right there in plain sight. So, our first huge clue has absolutely nothing to do with the soldiers or their armies or their weapons. It's all about the ground, the very ground they're standing on. You see, this is not just any old field of battle. The king himself calls this battlefield a Dharmakshetra. It means a holy place, a place of pilgrimage, a field of righteousness. Now hold on, that is a really, really strange thing to call a place where two massive armies are about to completely destroy each other. I mean, why would he say that? And what's so fascinating here is the tension this creates. A battlefield is all about raw physical power, right? Survival of the fittest. But a holy place? That's all about spiritual influence. The king is afraid because he knows this ground isn't neutral. The location itself suggests that there's a force at play that's bigger than any army, a force that favors virtue and righteousness. And that brings us right to our second clue. Let's shift our focus from the place to the person asking the question, King Dhritarashtra himself. Because he is anything but an impartial observer here. The original text tells us that his mind is just filled with bias and anxiety. I mean, he's the father of one of the sides in this war, the Kauravas. And deep, deep down, he doesn't actually want peace. He wants his sons to win, but he is terrified that they won't. And you can literally hear this bias in the way he talks. He doesn't say our family or the boys. He very deliberately asks about my sons and the sons of Pandu. In that single phrase, he just cuts his nephews off from their shared family heritage. He's already created this us versus them battle right in his own heart. So we have our clues. A holy battlefield that favors the good guys, and a biased, fearful king. All right, let's put these pieces together and see how they basically spell out the battle's inevitable conclusion. First, let's just remember the king's state of mind. This is not a question coming from simple curiosity. It's a question born from this deep, gnawing doubt about whether his sons even have a chance. And second, remember the location. The king is so aware that this is all going down on holy ground, a place that's like spiritually supercharged to make sure that righteousness wins the day. So what was he really afraid of? It wasn't just that his sons might lose the physical fight. He was terrified that the sacred influence of the place itself would guarantee their defeat. Because he knew, in his heart of hearts, that his sons were not the virtuous ones in this fight. And this is just a brilliant way to put it. The text compares the whole thing to a farm. It's just like a farmer who pulls out the weeds so the real crops can grow. The holy ground itself was going to weed out the unrighteous, the unwanted plants, so that the truly religious people could be established. So here's the kicker. The king's fearful, biased question wasn't really a question at all. It was a confession. It was a confession of his deep-seated fear that his sons, who were the aggressors, were pretty much doomed from the very start. The ending was right there, hiding in the beginning. So, how does this ancient insight from thousands of years ago actually apply to us? Well, it becomes a really powerful tool when we start to recognize that we all have our own battlefields to face. So, I want to ask you to think for a second, what is your personal Kurukshetra? It's not some physical place with armies, of course. It's a situation in your life that feels like a huge struggle, that moment that demands a really difficult choice between what's easy and what's right. Maybe your battlefield is a high-stakes decision at work, or a crack in a relationship that you really cherish. Or maybe it's that really personal internal fight with a habit you know is holding you back. These are our fields of righteousness. And the choices we make there, they don't just define who we are, but who we're trying to become. You see, the lesson from that ancient king is that the questions we ask ourselves can actually reveal our deepest fears and maybe even predict our own outcomes. The real question isn't whether this is possible, but whether we're ready for it. If this sparked a new idea for you, hit the subscribe button and join the conversation in the comments. I'll see you in the next one.